Hello and welcome to the Source One podcast. Consider us your source for the latest procurement, supply management, and strategic sourcing insights, anytime, anywhere.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Source One podcast. I'm here once again talking talent with our friend Andrew Jones. How's it going, Andy?
It's going well. How are you?
Not too bad. So Andy, in your job as a recruiter, I imagine every once in a while you get to place a candidate in a really appealing location, not just a business, but a town or a city that's really got it all.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, I would imagine every now and then you are trying to, get somebody to head to maybe a more tertiary locale. Is that something you've had experience with?
Yes, absolutely.
And am I correct in assuming that it's not always easy?
It's definitely not easy, but what you have to do as a good recruiter is, kind of do your homework. So in the case of, let's say, hypothetically, Fresno, and let's say hypothetically you're talking to people from San Francisco, well, you can talk about the cost of living, as compared to Fresno, California. I mean, I think I looked up on Zillow, and like 1,400 square feet in San Francisco goes for about $1.1 million. So I would say that a dollar doesn't stretch as far out in San Francisco as it would in a Fresno. So those are kind of the selling features that you have to use. You've just really got to do your research, and find some things that are appealing about the location.
So it requires like kind of double duty as researcher then. You have to research where you're trying to place the candidate, but also where that candidate is coming out of, and maybe try to reverse engineer some selling points based on pain points they might have.
Correct. And we're recruiting for a company in the Southeast right now, and someone was talking about trying to get people out from the West Coast. Well, for instance, California has a 13% income tax, state income tax. Pennsylvania has a 3% state income tax. So those are all things that you've got to use as selling features for a certain location. People might not automatically know. You kind of take for granted that others do the research that you do.
Mm-hmm. And California's also got the fact that it might one day break off of the continental U.S.
It's strange about that area. People don't like to leave it, no matter what.
Do you run into a lot of that? I imagine there's probably some pushback if you're trying to move a candidate who, say, got like kids who are starting school or anything like. Do you ever do any research into like school districts, anything like that? Do you ever try to like almost play realtor?
I do, yeah. A lot of times I will look up school districts, or I'll ask people what the school districts are like in that area. You know what? Speaking of geographies, besides for the Bay Area, the one city people really seem to be married to is Atlanta, Georgia.
Really?
Yeah, try to get somebody to move out of Atlanta, Georgia. That's difficult. I mean, I've found a couple people that'll interview for jobs, people that live in Atlanta that'll interview for jobs outside of Atlanta, but that area in general, people love it down there. It's hard to get people to move out of there. That and Charlotte, the Charlotte area too, real difficult.
So what are some of the resources you consult in trying to figure out what the selling points might be for a location that's not that doesn't say have an immediate reputation?
Pull from the people. Talk to the people. What do you like about living here?
So talk to people who are already working in the company.
Yeah, talk to people that are already working in the company. Like, what do you like about living out here? You definitely make sure any candidate that you talk to from there, what do you like about this area? Even if they tell you no, just what is it that you like about this area? I'm having a hard time getting people to come out here.
Yeah, do companies do a good job of that themselves, do you find?
No.
Not typically?
Not at all. You always have to evolve. It is a candidate market. So you've got to think, quote, outside the box, unquote. And in your job description, if you know it's not going to be a desirable area to locate, highlight that. Like, hey, do you want to move? Would you like an opportunity in X, Y, and Z city? And then copy and paste a link to like a tourism board or something like that. Or, if you're using an area like, we'll say Fresno again. Do you know Fresno in an hour and a half you can be up in the mountains, or an hour and a half you can be on the beaches of sunny Los Angeles? Things like that companies have to use.
Yeah, I mean, we hear all the time how it's more or less a constant that people of every generation are looking for a work-life balance from their employer, and I think that would be a good way to cater to that desire, by underlining the things that the candidate could be doing when they're not in the office.
Right, exactly. It's not that hard.
I don't know that I've ever really looked at a job description that did anything like that. I mean, to be fair, I've mostly applied for jobs in like Philadelphia, New York, places that kind of sell themselves in a certain respect. But
if somebody said to you, "Hey Bennett, would you like to move to Lewistown or Lewisburg, Pennsylvania?"
The home of Bucknell University.
Yeah. Or Erie. On the surface, you wouldn't. right?
Right. It would take some. It would take
something. But if I said
incentives.
Erie, hey, would you, growing town, Presque Isle Beach, then you might perk your
Improve
ears
cost
up a
of
little
living.
bit.
Yeah.
So if you perk your ears up, but you're not interested, imagine the person. There's other people whose ears will perk up too and would listen a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So those are things organizations have to do that they don't do a good job of.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine that's something that you can really bring alive beyond the job listing. I feel like that's something you can afford to address in like an interview. Do you think, in your experience trying to place candidates, do you think the candidates themselves tend to do a good enough job of doing that digging, or do you find
That's something that's incumbent upon me. Like Chattanooga, for instance, somebody gave me this great line that I've been using, and it's worked to be able to get people to interview from a major metro area. I've just said that Chattanooga is the southeast version of Austin, Texas, which it is. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't talk to a candidate.
And we've talked about looking into the candidate's background to sort of identify some pain points they might be looking to alleviate. Do you also do any research into like the candidate's interests and see what might appeal about a certain location to them?
Yes, I do. I use that. I'll go look and see if I can find a candidate background to match to the area. Absolutely. And people, you always notice that people like to talk about themselves, and if they're good, they like to talk about what they do. So, you just let them talk.
And it's ultimately not that different from a small firm trying to, keep talent from jumping ship and going to like a name brand, right? You've got to sort of emphasize what makes you unique.
You've been listening to the Source One podcast. For more strategic sourcing and procurement insights every day, visit our blog, The Strategic Sorcerer. Want to provide feedback or suggest a topic for a future episode? Let us know at prrequest@sourceoneinc.com. Thanks for listening.